Maybe. Is it going? No, it's still pending. Okay, cool. We should be good to go. All righty, everyone. Okay, so thanks for joining us for our last session today. We are going to go over some things that we've learned and really get into how we're going to be able to apply them going forward and coming out of this class. And hopefully talk about some of the things that have been really helpful so far. But we are going to begin with talking about lapses. A lot of you have talked about how kind of your goal is risk management with your alcohol use, so maybe decreasing the amount you use, maybe not cutting it out completely, and that's totally okay. Lapses are probably not going to be as problematic for you then at this point in time, because that's typically what occurs when someone's been abstinent for a long time of using alcohol and maybe slips up. And that's typically what we talk about when we're talking about lapses. But it's still really important to talk about them because it's a mistake, and everyone makes mistakes in one way, shape, or form, whether or not it has to do with alcohol. And even if it does, maybe you end up going out and making some choices that you don't like as much in the morning. That's okay. We are going to talk about ways to kind of cope with that and what you can do to help prevent those mistakes from happening. And what you can do if they do happen, and how you can kind of get back on the wagon. Why don't we, let's see. Okay, I'm gonna skip one part. Okay, so a lot of unintentional lapses or these slip-ups are usually due to exposing ourselves to those high-risk situations. Do you all remember kind of identifying those at the beginning, like the very first session and a little bit into the second one? Yeah, so those situations where you're more likely to use alcohol. When we get exposed to those, we're more likely to slip up, to make a mistake. So it's important to recognize that even when we have really good intentions, if we're going out to those spaces where we're more likely to drink, we are more likely to drink. So what we can do is noting things like our automatic thinking that we talked about. Be like, okay, I'm going to recognize when maybe I'm slipping into some of those old habits that I've got going on. And use some of these personal strategies that you all have spent a lot of time building these past couple sessions. We are going to practice this a little bit by going to page, I bet it's not actually page 34 of the workbook, maybe page 38. Let's look for sure. Yes, okay, yep, page 38. And you can see that it's got a My Emergency Plan, and then there's a table underneath it. So what I want us to do is to think about maybe a little trigger or something that has led to alcohol use that we weren't necessarily anticipating doing that. And I want us to come up with a potential strategy or plan for when these situations might come up. Granted, we're not going to be able to plan for every possible situation that could occur. That's not realistic. But I want to give you a minute to kind of get in that mindset of thinking like, okay, if I were to be in this high risk situation again, what might happen and what could I do to kind of handle this? For example, this person's at a party and they're handed a bottle. And that might trigger alcohol use that they don't want to do. So they can call for support in that moment, or they could do something like just completely avoiding Jeff's place, not going to that party. And those are a few different strategies. So I want you to come up with at least two potential like risky situations that might come up, and then come up and pull some of those strategies or plans that we've developed throughout the course of this class. Any questions about that? No? Okay. Go ahead and raise your hand once you've finished then, please.
Hey, sorry guys, I'm gonna have to jump off here for just a second to go check out Salesforce. I'll just close
Yeah,
down my camera and I'll be back in a minute though.
sounds good. Emily, how's it going? You still working? You finished? Okay. All right. Well then, y'all willing to share at least one the slips last words, anything that you put in the like risky potential decisions, and then what your accompanying strategy was.
So I have like stress from finals weeks or like
Yeah.
doing like test prep or something. And so something that I can do is just go to the gym and exercise instead just to get used to it or call somebody and talk to one of my friends just to go through everything.
That's great. That's awesome. Yeah. Emily, what's one for you?
I mean, I guess mine was sort of similar. I said like Friday nights when I'm like staying in and like I'm gonna watch movies, I'm like, well, I could drink this glass bottle of wine. So like my plan would be to limit myself to one glass, and I can do that by getting the wine bottles where you can screw on the top because
Yeah.
my fridge is not tall enough to like place a wine bottle in there. So like every time I try to lay it on its side with like the cork popped in, it always pops out. So I just started dumping out wine, and that's no fun. So
Yeah. Well, it sounds like you've got a good problem-solving strategy for that.
hopefully.
Yeah. I'm wondering, so this is, we've been kind of doing this throughout the whole class. For both of you, was it any easier to come up with some of these strategies or plans now as opposed to 4 weeks ago?
Yeah, I'm definitely thinking about it more. Like before I would just like drink, you know. Now I think about it before I drink, and like there have been times where I said like no thanks, I'm not gonna drink today, like when my roommate asked me, so like that's different.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And that's the whole kind of point of this class is just to teach you to think a little more, give you those skills, um, just so that you can make informed decisions about your life and what you're doing. So I'm glad to hear that. Thanks for sharing, Emily. All right. As far as lapses, that's all we're really going to talk about today. You've got all those awesome skills that you have at your disposal to use at any point in time. So I'm going to turn it over to Hayden for our next activity.
All right, so this next activity kind of blends in with what we were talking about last week and finding new hobbies, short-term, long-term, things that are costly and things that are not. So my first question is, who did one of their fun new activities that they said that they were going to do? Emily, I had you down for like walking, exercising, and then Monique, you said gardening, which I know you can't probably physically do, but like maybe going outside more or buying a plant or anything like that. Did you guys do any of that?
I did go take a walk at Lake Charleston, but I definitely didn't go every day.
Yeah.
I did not get a plant. However,
You didn't
I've
get a
been
plant?
outside a lot more, especially since I have a puppy now. And yeah, we've been on some pretty long walks, thanks to him. It's been great.
Right. Well, good. I think one of yours you mentioned too, like that you would like to go outside more and be a little more active. So that's awesome that you got to take your puppy out, and good job, Emily, for going on that walk. So the point of that activity is mainly to, get you all thinking about new things that are a little bit more time consuming or like refreshing and helping you live a healthier lifestyle. So just positive drug-free activities in general is the main point of that. So we're gonna get a little bit more into detail about, alcohol use and how it is time consuming and it can be costly as well. So on page 39, there is a little activity that I'm gonna have you all do. It's pretty short and sweet, but you might need a calculator depending on what numbers you want to put down. So the activity is called Time and Money Spent on Alcohol. And so it's just a little chart that asks how much time you think you spend drinking per week. And then it has you do a little bit of multiplication, and then it goes into per month and then per year total. And then it does the same thing for money. So you're going to put down how much money you think that you spend on alcohol per week. Then you're going to multiply it, and it tells you exactly what to do in that little chart. So if you want to take a couple minutes to fill that part out, we're going to talk about that afterwards, and then I can give my own example too, just to kind of help you guys understand it if you were struggling. And if you prefer just to do like the time or the money one, that's okay too. I'll just have you give one of the examples. Then while we're waiting on everybody to finish up, I'm going to go ahead and just give one example that I kind of came up with. So I decided to focus on money in this example. And so for the per week under money, I put $25 a week. Let's say you spend on alcohol. And so if you multiply that by 4, it's going to be per month. It comes out to $100 a month. And if you multiply that by 12, because there's 12 months in a year, it comes out to $1,200 in total. So that's a big chunk of money that one could be saving by just spending $25 a week on alcohol. Does anybody else have one of their examples ready to go? Because Emily looks a little shocked that that's a lot of money or something.
Okay, well, I did 15, and I mean, that was probably on the lower end of the spectrum for a lot of people, but I just thought, say, I get a case of Trulies or something, that's, what, $16? So that's pretty close. And then, for time, I guess that one kind of added up really quick, too, when you do times 12, when you see, what it is per year.
Right.
That's up
What
there.
number did you put down? Did you put any down?
Yeah, so just I'll just do my per year totals. For 6 hours a week, that's 288 hours a year. That's, I don't even know how much,
A lot of time.
that's a lot, man. And then $900 was my total. And I mean, I thought that was up there,
Right.
but just $10 more and you're in the thousands. That's That's what I was like, wow.
Right, that's crazy. And it's kind of ironic that you put those numbers because you remember, I don't know if you remember, but a couple of sessions back, I talked about how the average college student spends $900 per year on alcohol. So it's kind of just like reassuring to that fact that we had talked about previously, that that is what the average college student spends a year.
Crazy. Okay, someone else can share.
Monique, do you have any examples that you came up with?
Quite similar to Emily's. Mine was like $15 because usually all I would drink is wine. So it equaled to like 60 times 4 and then like $720 altogether. That's still a lot of money and I'm broke.
Right. That is still a lot of money. I mean, no matter how much you put, it can be one drink a week or one drink a month, and it still adds up to something that is pretty significant. So Paul, there's this fun activity that we were just doing. I know you had to step out, but I think you might benefit from this one as well.
I was here for the
You don't have
instructions,
to
but I heard
write
you.
it, but later on. It's on page 39.
Haven, can you hear me?
Okay, and it's just a time and money chart. So if you want to fill that out later, just for your own sake, that might be beneficial to you. So the main point of that activity is that time and money are very valuable resources. I feel like I keep freezing. Can everybody still hear me? Okay, I got some head nods. Okay, so time and money are some very valuable resources, which is why it is very important to, keep an eye on those habits that you have. So the next page we're going to go to is going to be page 40 and 41. It kind of all ties in together. So on page 40, it just basically lists some more things that you can do, like hobbies that are drug-free, alcohol-free, and just gives you like a variety on a list form. So learning, sports, social groups, creative arts, outdoor activities, other interests. And then on page 41, there's another activity which we kind of talked about in the last session, but this is more based on like bigger, more creative, like it might not be like a week that you can do this in. It might take longer, things of that nature. So if you just want to write down like 1 or 2 future interests or hobbies that you could have on that chart, and then go ahead and share with us.
Can you guys hear me? Oh,
Yeah.
Perfect.
I think there's just a lapse.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the one I wrote down that's would most interest me, and I don't know if it's exactly a hobby, but if I had more time, I would want a pet. I think that would be the biggest thing for me.
Can you repeat that one more time? I must have bad connection. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I said I think the thing that I wrote it down, it's not exactly a hobby, but if I had more time, I would want a pet. I think that would definitely be something I would like to invest some time in the future. Can you hear me, Haven?
Awesome. That's still a really good one. Does anyone else have something a little different?
Paul, I told you can have him anytime you want. He's yours. Something I would like to learn how to do as a hobby in a long time run is sewing. Yeah, my clothes have a lot of holes in them now, thanks to him. So, yeah, sewing would be great.
Yeah, that's something that's going to take a little more money too, probably. So that is a good future interest. Miss Emily?
Okay, so I don't know which one I want to share, so I'm just going to share 3. I guess I liked Monique's idea of gardening. I think that would be really fun to do, like maybe grow a couple vegetables. But and then rollerblading. I used to do it when I was little, and I just haven't done it since I've been here. And then yoga. I need a set time to relax and unwind. So
Right. Those are all good ones. And I know that I think like the rec has yoga classes, or I know that they used to. So that might be something that's, you know, a little cheaper and not as costly, but still something that you can like plan on going to every week,
yeah.
which could be really beneficial as. So the main point of like reiterating future interests and hobbies is just for the simple fact that it's going to help you to expand your knowledge on new things, and like just help you be more creative in the long run, and also just to not focus on alcohol or drug activities that are result in bad habits and that are bad for your health. So just some things to keep in mind, and I hope you all get to, you know, after this course, definitely like get into those activities and expand your knowledge on those. So just go back after this course. I ask that you go back and, you know, read some of those activities and actually like do your best to get into those. But I think that's all I had, Sammy. So now it's into the reward section.
Awesome. So this is another fun section. We get to talk about rewards and fun things because it's important to look back and see how far you've come, the changes that you've already implemented, and the ones that you're going to continue doing. And rewarding ourselves help us recognize that and kind of recognize that distance that you traveled, because sometimes it doesn't feel like you've made a lot of changes, but you really have, and we want to, you know, take that minute to like recognize that. And in order to do that now and in kind of your future, using rewards can be a really helpful way to do that for yourself. So I want you to turn to page 31 in your workbook, and you can see it's super simple. Just list 5 possible rewards. Anything positive, healthy, really anything that you like that puts a smile on your face, that's positive and healthy, is what I want you to write down there. And I want you to come up with a few, maybe one that you can do to reward yourself for making it through this class, because we know it's a lot of work, and maybe some going forward as well, what those rewards could be. And then I would love to hear them once you've got some down. All right, once you've got some rewards, feel free to go ahead and share. And if you need a few more minutes, that's okay too. Emily, you look like you've got some. Did you come up with some rewards?
I like smoothies.
Oh, yum.
Like
So
I
smoothies.
really like smoothies. Smoothie
Like-
King is the bomb.
Nice. Okay, so maybe taking a trip to go get some good smoothies as a reward. I love that. Awesome. What other rewards do we got?
I guess going to sleep early.
Yeah, that's huge. Yeah, as students, that can be really hard to do, but also is really, really important to treat yourself sometimes with a
Yeah.
little bit of extra sleep.
I had both of those actually. I had not the smoothie, but I had Mikasa food and sleep also. But for a bigger thing, I put vacation. Like it's all I can think about right now as far as things I want as a reward.
Ah, that
Try to
sounds
do
so
something.
nice right now. Yeah.
All right, and I put either like going out to lunch or dinner or spending money. I like to shop a lot.
Awesome.
So yeah.
Yeah, great. Sounds like y'all were able to come up with some really fun rewards. And it's important to do them, to actually reward yourself, because that's what keeps behavior change going. When you do a thing that you're proud of, get yourself a little reward, and you'll be more likely to want to do the hard thing the next time. And so I just want to kind of leave you with that, and also say that you all have done hard work in this class. So I hope that you take the opportunity to reward yourself, whether it's something on this list or something else, that you take that opportunity to reward yourself, and keep using the information that we've given you, whether it's through the workbook or just that we've kind of chatted about. So that's all I have for rewarding yourself. So I think Haven just has to wrap us up real quick.
Yes, so we are basically done. This is just the conclusion and kind of short review of what all we've learned in this course. So it's really important that you guys keep your workbooks and go back and review those, especially in times of need. I think that those workbooks definitely help, not just when it comes to alcohol use, but decision making and habits in general. So overall, we've learned, alcohol effects on your body, on your mind, physically. We've learned, some legal consequences about quitting or cutting down, some trigger identifications, which are helpful in many situations. We've learned about coping with cravings, planning ahead, who our social support is in times of need, withdrawal, problem solving. So we've also identified some new activities for everybody to try out. And then, of course, how important rewards are and how important it is to act out on those once you have done something successful, or even just the little successes in general. It's important to reward yourself. So I have a couple more questions for you. In general, do you think there's any skills that you learned over the past 4 weeks that you will be able to take into the next 4 coming weeks? Like, is there any one skill that stuck out to you that you can either use on a daily or weekly or monthly basis that you really took to heart over the last 4 weeks of this session? Or if there's just any new skills that you found helpful.
I think one of the most helpful things was really actually spending time thinking about the situations that could cause trouble. In the past, for me, one of the biggest things is not really preparing for bad situations or something, things like that. If I am prepared, I don't think they're necessarily so hard to handle. It's just facing them unprepared is, so I think that was one of the biggest helps of the program for me.
Awesome. That is good to hear.
I think that last part we just looked at about the money and the time spent, now I feel like I'm wasting my time. But I guess, yeah. And I've been thinking more about it, before I decide anything, I consider the pros and cons, which is
Right.
something I didn't do before.
That's good to hear. Yeah, time and money are very valuable to us, especially at our age. So I'm glad that you're taking those into more of a consideration now.
I'm gonna say the most helpful tip was rewarding yourself for positive behaviors.
Mhm.
I think that that'll help me like get my mind off of doing something negative. Like if I want to do it, I can do this instead, and then I could also do this for myself.
Right.
It's just that sense of being able to do something else.
Yes, that's great. Rewarding yourself, even for the little things, like I mentioned, is definitely really important, especially again for people our age. So I'm glad that you all felt like you learned something from this, whether it has to do with alcohol use or not. I think my last main question for you is going to be, what have you decided when it comes to alcohol use, though? Do you think that you will, cut down a little bit? I know, like Emily mentioned a couple times, instead of drinking a whole bottle, you'll have one glass, or just quitting in general. Have you guys kind of thought about what your plan is? There's no right or wrong answer. Just what are you thinking now that it's the end of this class?
I feel like in the future, my goal is to only drink when I set out to drink, meaning like if I plan to not be influenced by other people, or to, not necessarily to quit altogether, but just do it when I feel like, when I've predetermined it's something I should do, as opposed to
Right.
being pressured into it.
Yeah, that's really good. Not being influenced.
I can't say I wouldn't join in. Like,
Mm-hmm.
peer pressure is something, but I think I want to like limit myself so that I don't get sick. Like, that's never a good feeling. So like limiting myself to one, or if I'm gonna be there a while too, I guess is fine, as long as it's spread out,
Right.
Just keeping my numbers down.
Right. No, that's good. I mean, you're being really realistic, but you're also like being more aware, like you mentioned previously. So that's still awesome.
I will have to say mine is to drink less, or not just drink at all, because quite honestly, I don't like the smell and I don't like the taste.
Yeah.
And I don't like the side effects afterwards. So it's just something that I could find something else that I can do better and enjoy.
Right. That's awesome. And especially now that you have that new pup, you have something to keep you a little bit more busy. So thank you all for being so open and willing to share what you have decided to do. So now that we are basically at the end of this course, it is just really important to, if you think that you need a few more sessions, let us know, and we love to talk with you all. But this is basically the end, and so we appreciate your participation, and we hope that you learned something from this course. We do have a little survey that we will need you to fill out, and that will kind of, once you finish that and we get the notification that all three of you have completed it, we will send that in, and your sanction will kind of be completed after you have finished that. So that's actually put up in the chat. So once we're done with this course, if you just want to get on the chat or in the messages and click on that survey, and have you fill that out really quick. It's not too long. It just kind of asks what you've learned about. And then I think that's pretty much it, though. Sammy, do you have anything else?
Nope, I think that's everything. Thank you all for participating and being pretty awesome throughout the whole course of this.